new phase of impeachment began a day after a congressional report on the high-stakes inquiry detailed the overwhelming evidence of abuse of power and obstruction by the president. The report mapped out a month-long scheme by President Donald Trump, his personal lawyer Rudy Giuliani, senior diplomats, and White House staffers to pressure Ukraine's president into investigating Joe Biden, the current favorite to win the Democratic nomination for the 2020 election. Trump was willing to compromise our security in his office for personal political gains, said the Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler. Trump's alleged political crimes, including bribery and obstruction of justice in Congress, were worse than the misconduct of any prior president, Gerhardt said. If Congress fails to impeach here, then the impeachment process has lost all meaning, and along with it, our Constitution's carefully crafted safeguards against the establishment of a king on American soil. White House spokesman Stephanie Grisham hit back on Twitter, claiming that 3 out of 4 experts in this shame hearing have non-biases against Trump. The former George Washington University Law School professor Jonathan Turley, the only expert chosen by Republicans, had a different assessment. Turley argued that there was no evidence that Trump acted with a corruption and corrupt intent, and he warned that partisan anger was compromising the injury. There was so much more race than reason, Turley said. Impeachments have to be based on a proof, not presumptions, he said, adding, the Democrats were rushing the process so quickly they were not hearing from key players in the Ukraine scandal. Turley and Republican panelists failed to acknowledge the stonewalling by the White House, despite requests from Democrats. 12 current or former administration officials have refused to testify. The president himself in London for a NATO meeting lambasted his opponents for proceeding with the impeachment hearings. What they were doing is a very bad thing for our country, Trump said. It's a joke. Congress' Doug Collins, a judiciary panel of top Republicans, piled on, saying Democrats were hurrying the impeachment process before it impacts the 2020 presidential election calendar. Collins faced a scolding, however, from one of the scholars when he insinuated that they had not studied the evidence and testimony. I'm insulted by the suggestion that as a law professor, I don't care about those effects, Carlin said. Carlin also squarely asserted, by being confrontational, that Donald Trump's alleged effort to withhold military aid until Ukraine committed to investigating Biden was a grounds for removal, even though Kiev never conducted the probe, soliciting itself as impeachable offense, she said. The House Intelligence Committee report is expected to form the basis for the Judiciary Committee to draw formal changes, articles of impeachment that could include bribery, abuse of power, obstruction, and contempt of Congress.